Good Tuesday morning, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Tuesday Talks. It is a fabulous day outside. You know, summer is winding down. Pretty soon school's going to be starting here, and it's amazing that summer's already over, and everything's going to be kicking in. Fall will be here. I know some of you are going to be excited to have cooler temperatures coming back around, but it's just amazing how things are flying. So I hope that your summer's gone well. And if you're still have some more vacation to take before, I pray that you stay safe on it and then come back in August and get ready to really kick into gear. One thing that you notice in Jesus' time is that everywhere he went, he had crowds following him. That's why you see him, I think, getting on a boat at times and needed to get some places by himself or pulling himself away from even the disciples from time to kind of get some prayer and some relaxation and some refreshing in his ministry and the things that he was doing on a daily basis. But those crowds kept following him and they followed him all the way even to Jerusalem. And it's interesting how the crowds, especially around Jesus' death, one day they're all pro-Jesus, and then a few days later they're all anti-Jesus. And that's kind of how the crowds work and the peer pressure on the people around. And I wonder this morning, and I just got a question I wanted you to ponder is, what crowd are you following? And that may be a weird question to ask. Like, well, I'm not following a crowd. I follow me. But a lot of us are influenced by the things that are around us. We're getting ready to come into midterm elections. And over these next few months, you're really going to start seeing in the political world, the commercials ramp up on television. And one side's going to try to push you because they want this. And one side's going to push you because they want that. And in research world, we call that groupthink, of trying to get people on the same page. And you know, when we're growing up, we are told, and we tell our kids, and when we're young, our parents tell us the old verse that Paul talked about in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 33, where he says, "Don't be deceived, be careful. Evil companions corrupt good morals." And I'm not necessarily even talking about that. Yes, that is true, and that peer pressure on that side can be negative and push us aside. But I wonder what crowd you're following today. It could be seemingly good. It could be not necessarily evil per se. But what crowd are you following? When Peter and John are arrested in Acts chapter 3, and they're taken in front of the Sanhedrin, in chapter 4 of Acts, it's interesting because he comes in there and he says that they recognized that these were Galileans, that these were uneducated men, but that they recognized they had been with Jesus. And I wonder, when people see you, and they see you out amongst the crowds, do they recognize that you have been with Jesus? You know, when we're out and when we live, and we talk about this a lot, and I know a lot is said about the Great Commission and evangelizing and reaching other people, and I'm not sitting here saying you pull yourself away from the crowd, because how else are you going to interact with people and convert them to Christ and bring them to Jesus without interacting with them and without being there? But I wonder if when people look at you and they hear you talk and they see the things that you do they recognize that you have been with Jesus? You know, because when people look at me, and we can quote Galatians 2:20, "I've been crucified with Christ, nevertheless I live, yet not I, but Christ lives in me, and the life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me." Romans chapter 8, verse 29, we've been predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son. And so when people look at you, when people look at me, do they see you? Or do they see John? No, I hope they see Christ, because that's the crowd I'm following. And I want to challenge you to get to know the Christ more. We talked last week on our Tuesday talk about diving in and studying, and even it's just picking up one of the Gospels and just reading through it. And look and see, how does your life look? Are you letting it transform you? Not to your image, but to the image of his Son. Follow that crowd. Follow that crowd for your life. Follow that crowd for God and his kingdom, to help it expand. And ultimately, because it leads to an eternal life. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope this message has inspired you. And I hope that as you wind down the summer, you remember, what do people see when they're looking at me? Have a wonderful day, and we will see you next week on Tuesday Talks.